Hi everyone! Today I want to talk about something that can easily sneak into our day-to-day, and that is some negative, or what I would almost term as toxic habits. When we retire, we have all of this free time. It's absolutely fantastic. We don't need to get up to an alarm clock. We can set our own schedule. We can do whatever we want. And after all, that is the greatest part of retirement. But along with that unstructured time, there can be the opportunity for some really negative habits to sneak into our life. And those are the ones I specifically want to discuss. Hi, my name is Reina, and this is Small Retired Life. On my channel, we talk about all things about retirement, both all of the good things and the challenging things, and just life in our 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s and beyond. If you're new, welcome here. Now, you know me, I'm not here to scold anyone. And that's because I've probably fallen into some of these habits myself. I just thought it would be worthwhile to shine the light on a few of these things. Specifically, there are 10 what I would think are common habits for people to fall into, especially when they first retire, or some of them are as time goes on and you get a little bit bored. Some of these habits apply to everybody. Some of them apply more to people that are single, and so there's more of a tendency to develop a specific habit. Now, these habits are not reserved just for those of us who are retired. They definitely exist and happen to people that are not retired. But I think when you're retired, you're at greater risk to start practicing some of these things because you have the time to do it. So let's start with a negative habit number one, and that is to sleep the day away. One of the best parts of retirement is that you do not have to get up at a specific time. And it's certainly nice to be able to sleep past your alarm clock, if you even set one when you're retired. And that's great. I think that that is a perk that everyone should take advantage of every now and then. It's really fun, especially on a Monday morning, to just kind of lay in bed and know that you don't have to get up. But when it happens over and over and over again, or when you're sleeping way too many hours in a day, it can actually have a negative effect. It makes you sluggish. You waste an incredible amount of time just being in bed. And to a certain extent, if you're sleeping way too many hours in a day, sometimes it's a mask for other serious problems that could be happening. Something like depression, where it's just easier to sleep than it is to be awake. Extreme boredom, which then leads to a little bit of depression. Or maybe physically there is something wrong. We often believe that getting more sleep will actually energize us. But the opposite can be true if we take that to an extreme. When we sleep too much, we're actually groggier and we don't really get going. If we sleep into the afternoons, we sometimes feel guilty because most of the day has pretty much run away from us. And when we get up, because it starts being later in the day, we don't really feel like starting anything because pretty soon it'll be evening again. I'm not saying that you need to get up before dawn and run laps around the block or anything like that. But what I would say is there's definitely a benefit in getting up earlier in the morning and just experiencing the day before all the busyness starts with a good cup of coffee or a cup of tea or a nice breakfast. The second negative habit is living too much in the past. Memories are great. I mean, they allow us to reminisce over some of the best times that we may have had. But when we live too much in the past, and especially if we ruminate about mistakes that we have made or opportunities that we have missed, and some of the negatives in our past, that kind of obsession will prevent us from really enjoying the present moment and what's happening right now. I always say that the past has had its turn and the present is now. Life is too short to expend energy on worrying and ruminating over things that happened a long time ago and that we can't really change. Control what you can control, and that is the present moment. Open yourself up to the opportunities that are available to you right now, as opposed to dwelling on all of the opportunities that you have missed. I'm not saying to never think about all of the wonderful times that you have had with family or friends or the special moments, but it's dangerous to make that the greatest part of what you think about. Because we're in the best part of life right now. To me, the present is always the best part because we have opportunities that we can grasp. We have a life that we can live and enjoy right now. So don't look at things and brood over things that you can't control that happened a long time ago, and instead grasp the opportunities, the joy and the life that is available to you right now. Negative habit number 3 is ignoring movement. When we retire, there is a tendency to perhaps be a little more sedentary. We certainly have a lot of time in a day, so we tend to sit more and watch television or do things like reading or sewing or knitting, things that tend to be a little bit more sedentary. But it's pretty critical for both our physical health and our mental health to get movement in every day. I think I certainly underestimated how much extra movement I did when I was working, running from one meeting to the next and not having enough time to eat sometimes, therefore not snacking and eating food every single minute of the day, as we can be prone to do when we have the time to do that. So it's really critical that we challenge ourselves to get up and go for a brisk walk, or maybe go to the gym if you like to do that, or even get out there and do things like gardening, or just go do groceries, or a little bit of housework that gets you moving. When we move, we get a lot of positive endorphins that flood our brain, and that is amazing for our mental health. Also, I was reading an article in the Globe and Mail the other day that said that there was a big research study done on Alzheimer's, and they found that people that walked 8,000 steps every day actually experienced less occurrence of symptoms of Alzheimer's or dementia. Now, I don't know how true this is. I know that this study was mentioned in quite a few different newspapers. So I'm going to take out of that I can't lose, but getting up myself out there and walking 8,000 steps every day. The 4th negative habit is to isolate yourself from others. Retirement can be pretty peaceful and very quiet, and sometimes we really love that quiet and we really enjoy that peace, especially if you happen to be introverted, as I am. But that peace and quiet can cross over into loneliness. And loneliness is definitely detrimental. Some people enjoy being alone, but most people don't enjoy being lonely, and there is a big difference. Loneliness is very detrimental to mental health. It's actually one of the contributors to Alzheimer's. Avoiding socializing and avoiding people is something that most medical experts say is a negative as we age. Even just getting outside and having a little chat with a neighbor can completely light you up and make you feel energized. Try to have some connections with someone, even if you're the greatest introvert. Connections with other people inspire you. They allow you to hear other opinions or just have a really good conversation. And they can definitely brighten your day. So don't isolate yourself from others. Negative habit number 5 is eating mindlessly. I think it's because of all the free time that we have that as we retire and just don't move around as much, we also tend to eat more. And unfortunately, we also gain weight faster and have a harder time losing that weight. Now, there's nothing wrong with eating good food, and I certainly enjoy having some nice food and enjoying what I'm eating. But I'm talking about the more mindless type of eating that you do when you're watching television, browsing online stuff, or reading a book. And because we have more time to do those things, which is awesome, we also tend to mindlessly snack. Part of that comes with distracted eating, eating without even thinking about whether you're really hungry or whether you need to eat. It's just something that takes up time and energy. The key thing for that is just to get up and do something else. Specifically, the best strategy is to just get out and do a 10-minute walk or a little bit of housework, or get out into your garden or something a little bit more active to reset your brain cells a little bit. If you're eating mindlessly and gaining weight, you are contributing to health that perhaps isn't optimal. And so take care of yourself and be more mindful about the amount of food that you're consuming. If we're not moving around a lot, we just don't need as much food, and that is a fact. Negative habit number 6 is overspending to fill the void. Shopping has become so easy. Remember the days when we used to have to get in our car to drive to the store, or we had to get outside and walk to a store? Well, now we can sit in our favorite chair and scroll the internet and go on to our favorite store's website, and we're one click away from purchasing something. The concept of money is slowly being eroded from people's minds as we're paying things that we purchase by using this online cash. It's not real money that we hold in our hand, and that is creating a completely different relationship with money. Also, there's a lot of these buy now, pay later type things that you can take advantage of now, and it makes you feel like you're not even really spending your money because you're not spending money that you have to pay right now. This is so detrimental when you're retired. When you're younger and you're working, there's always the potential to make more money. So even though you still are on a fixed income in the sense that you're only earning this much money, there's always the ability to make more. Whereas when we're retired or older, that ability definitely is lessened. Unless you're willing to take on a side gig, if you incur extra debt and you're on a fixed income and that income isn't going to grow, then at some point somewhere, you are going to have to give up something to pay off that debt. I mean, you know, us average people, we're not the government. We can't spend money we don't have. And if we do that, somewhere along the way, we're going to have to pay the piper. So I would say really watch your spending, because if you overspend and you run up your debt, the anxiety and the stress that that can bring to you is tremendous. Try to find other ways to distract yourself. Often when we shop, especially when we shop online, similar to eating too much, we shop when we're bored. And when you find yourself wanting to browse online stores and clicking that Pay Now button, now's the time to, again, get out of the chair, move around and do something else, or pick up your knitting, or play a round of golf. Do anything other than shopping. Negative habit number 7 is saying yes when you really should be saying no. This is something I've really noticed, is that because I'm retired, people assume that I have all the time in the world to do everything that is important to them. And in some cases, absolutely. Yes, I do have more time. Yes, I do have more time to go for lunch with my sister. Or yes, I do have more time to go for a brisk walk on a Sunday with a friend. But you can get just as overburdened in your retirement by committing yourself to too many things and stressing yourself out when there's too much to do, just as if you were working. You don't have to say yes to everything. There is more of a guilt factor in saying no when you're retired, because there is that internal dialogue where you're like, well, I have the time, I really should say yes. Honestly, if you're not excited about it, then don't say yes. It's perfectly okay to decline things that just really don't spark joy, or that you don't enjoy doing, or that are going to overburden an already busy schedule. One of the greatest joys at this stage of life is that we actually have the permission to do the things that we want to do and to decline those things that we don't want to do. After all, we've had a lifetime in the workforce being either forced to do things or doing things because it would advance our career, even if we're not excited. Well, now's the time where you can be a little bit more selfish, and it's absolutely okay. Negative habit number 8 is clinging to every single possession. I'm going to clarify. I'm not saying here that you need to declutter the things you love and the things that give you joy. Every time I have a decluttering video, someone has a comment where they're like, well, I'm going to keep my things. I'm not giving anything up, and you can't tell me what to do. I am not saying to go and throw out all of your things. What I'm saying is keep the things that you really enjoy and that you use, and be willing to perhaps let go the things that are sitting in your closet that are not adding any value to your day-to-day whatsoever. And also, if you have things sitting in a closet because you're saying to yourself, they're too good to use, get those things out, use them, enjoy them, eat off your bone china, love your things on a daily basis, enjoy them on a daily basis. They're not doing you any favors hiding in the closet. Sometimes there's a tendency that we make our homes museums that reflect our past. I think that it's good that we have some things that kind of remain and keep that place of honor for a long, long time, but not every single thing is precious, and not every single thing has to be kept, and not every single thing is needed. Negative habit number 9 is, and you're all gonna laugh at this one, constantly talking about your ailments. Remember when we were younger and we would always think that old people, all they talk about is what hurts, or what's wrong with them, that type of thing? Don't fall into the trap of doing that. Honestly, nobody cares. Nobody wants to listen to you. And if they are listening to you, they're simply being polite. I don't know what it is as we age that, this is so prevalent in our minds and we want to talk about it. Believe me, I have to sometimes stop myself because I'm whining on about some ache or pain or knee issue or something that's going on, and I'm talking to someone else and clearly they're not interested. Obviously, health is important. Get your checkups every year. Maintain yourself as best as you can. Go to the dentist, get your hearing checked. Keep your body in good working order because we are getting older. But I think when we consistently talk about ailments and our health issues and what's wrong with us and that type of thing, it can put us in a very negative mindset. It's just a negative thing, and if we're dwelling on something that's negative, it actually can prevent us from getting better. I've seen people that have had very severe health things happen to them who don't dwell on it. Instead, their focus is on getting healthy and doing things that bring positivity into their life. Really hear me out on this. Remember when you were young, you just laughed at all the old people that talked about their aches and pains. Well, now we're becoming those people. And so it's good to remember that that type of conversation is not always appreciated. Negative habit number 10 is identifying ourselves through our old role and through our past activities. One of the hardest things to shed when you first get retired is the concept of what you used to do. What was your identity before you were retired? If you were an executive, you played an important role in a corporation, or if you were a police officer, you spent a lot of time helping people and dealing with people in tough situations. Or if you were, let's say, a doctor, you were helping people get well. And all of these things that you did for your career were so important and they were so much a part of you. And when you retire, very quickly, you become a retired person. You are no longer seen as someone who is working. And you almost have to adopt a new identity and find a new meaning for yourself. For some people, it's extremely difficult because they have so much of themselves tied into whatever it is they used to do. Now, for someone who did a job that they did because, it was okay and it paid the bills, but it wasn't who they were, maybe this is a little bit easier. But for those of you who really truly identified with what career you were in and what role you were playing, when you retire, this could be very hard to segue to something new. If we never allow ourselves the opportunity to step into a new identity, we can get stuck in the past and dwell on things that were, as opposed to being excited about the opportunities that could be. I would suggest that if you find yourself doing that, or you find yourself even just always talking about what you used to do, as opposed to maybe looking at what is available to you now and finding exciting and new things to do now that will define you in the present moment, maybe really consider that and see if you can change that modality for yourself. So those are 10 negative habits to keep an eye on in your retirement. And again, not that any of these are bad in small doses. It's when they kind of become an extreme that they become negative to our health and to our well-being. Let me know if you think there's habits I missed, because I could only think of these 10. They kind of popped into my mind because they're big ones. And let's have a discussion in the comment section like we always do. And this is all I have for this week. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week at our regular time. Bye!